talking. Marty Scorsese and Davey Finchie have started off the race to this year's Oscars with two killer new films. The historical epic Killers of the Flower Moon and the Hitman thriller The Killer. And we'll talk about those and some other good new releases. I am your Wicked Game Master, Connor Lloyd Crews, and I am joined, as usual, by the Joey Chestnut of talking about movies, Mr. Edwin Gomez.
Greetings, America.
It's not
reporting live from Hollywood, California, at the Egyptian Theater, and here to see the Wild Bunch. Ready to see some shit being blown up, people getting shot at, William Holden being a badass, Ernest Borgnine.
Your connection's really bad, so it's not even letting me look at you.
It's like 2003 internet.
Yeah. And then also here.
That's a good one.
Here we go.
What's up, guys? It's Brian.
And joining us for the first time.
Hi, I'm Josh. Josh Oakley. Jash, as Edwin called me, Jash.
I'm trying to do the right in the Josher, being the Josher.
It's like doing a show with a malfunctioning robot.
Absolutely.
I just wanted to say thank you to Marina Sakamoto and her band Shunkin for the use of their song Curse as our opening off of the EP She Nods. And hey, it's been 8 days since the strike ended, but the AMPTP still sucks as far as I'm concerned. They can fucking suck my dick. I don't understand how everyone isn't just like walking into your offices every day and like kicking down the door and like throwing paint on you or whatever. And so yeah, but
I feel like that was a real pivot from a much darker thought in your head.
Yeah, no,
100%. Paint at the last second.
Yeah, totally. I was thinking the same. I'm like knocking the door. That you're going through a lot of effort.
I was like, whoa.
Yeah, definitely switched at the end.
Hey,
starting off hard.
Terms of service, man.
I understand. Yeah. You heed your own rules. It's good.
But yeah, I do heed my own rules. One of my main rules is not getting us banned from Twitch. Yeah, let's go ahead and, as the Black Eyed Peas once said, get it started. With the Killer.
They said it the second time around, actually.
The second time around.
They cleared their throat and were like, get it started.
Actually, we were incorrect on that first one. Apologies.
Edwin, malfunctioning robot. Do you want to try to summarize the Killer, David Fincher's The Killer for us?
All right, David Fincher's The Killer. Hitman tried to do the job, misses, it goes to shit. And now he's on an odyssey to show them what kind of person he is, and he goes around to multiple different continents, killing a bunch of people that he had no fucks about. And he's the ultimate machine. And
I'm laughing, imagining editing the last scene with Hal in 2001 where he's malfunctioning slowly.
And this is what it is. These are the outtakes. Hal outtakes right now.
Since I got away, getting like on the move, like my move. Okay, Connor.
Are you just gonna leave? Are you gonna leave?
No, I'll give you my thoughts on the film.
Okay. Do you want to hear what are your thoughts on the film?
Well, my thoughts on I love it. Despite the fact that Fincher loves CGI shit, but overall, I think it's a solid like Odyssey adventure movie. I'll go as far as say that
No, we're not getting any of you right now. You were understandable there.
He was swallowed by an Egyptian theater, I guess. It just came out the walls. They were like, we're tired of this.
Well,
Okay, so like I was saying, I will go as far and say that this is Fassbender's best role ever.
Yeah.
Like he really nailed it. Like he's such a convincing killer, man. Like, and also something I never noticed, like he never blinks throughout the whole fucking movie. He never blinks. That's like, wow, that's dedication to that dude, man. Also, one thing I love about it a lot more, because when he kidnaps hostages trying to get out information, you know, there's some hitman to, like, you know, let them go with a warning shit, but no, he just straight up kills them without no regret, just fucking blows their brains out. The one that got me the most, that was really horrifying, is when he kills that assistant lady by cracking her neck and she falls down the stairs. Like, what the fuck?
Man. Hold on, spoilers. If everyone ignore what you just heard. So we are going to talk about spoilers later. So let's not talk about the we'll leave it vague, I guess. We won't elaborate on it for now. But we're not revealing the, like, end results of each encounter with the people. You know what I mean?
Well, that's one of the assaults, but other than that, it's a solid Odyssey film where the man is on a mission. He's on a journey, man, to, like,
he is on a mission
to seek out who he needs to kill. It's awesome.
Yeah, I loved it. I loved how funny it is. It's probably his like most straightforward movie narratively since, like, Panic Room. Like, when you think about structure and stuff.
Yeah, solid film.
Yeah, thematically, it's dabbling in Fight Club territory.
Definitely.
Yeah, definitely.
And I definitely feel
vibe a lot.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. And then I even feel some of the fun vibe from the game as well. Like, I definitely pick up. Like, I feel like he kind of did a little. This almost was his kind of weird greatest hits package film in a lot of ways, but in a very, like, linear, methodical way, which I thought was really cool.
I also really think
Chris
about
Pine's here.
Who's there?
Wow, that's awesome.
Chris Pine.
I'm going this way.
Can you
he's here.
Can you get him?
Awesome,
hold
man.
on. Fuck.
Can we get him on the pod?
Can we get him on the show?
Grab Chris Pine real quick, man.
Yeah, I'm not doing that. Fuck that. No.
Ask him if he wants to be on
I'm
the
not gonna be that guy.
show. Come on.
Yeah, we're doing a content.
I'll say I love his movies.
Special guest star Chris Pine.
That's awesome.
Chris Pine.
Just do, like,
wow, this dude loves movies, man. That's so fucking cool, man. He loves movies.
He does love movies.
Does. See that, but right now, you love movies, so you guys immediately have something you can connect on, and then just be like, "We're on a podcast about people who love movies."
Yeah.
Damn, Chris Pine alert! I need to have that instead of spoilers. Chris Pine alert.
Right. Chris Pine alert.
Yeah, I thought it was. Yeah, thematically, it's funny because it's kind of like, I read it as I mean, it's a lot of things, but it's like it's almost a parody of modern, like, hustle grind culture in a certain way, and it definitely, like, it feels like it's about a robot learning to have emotions and hating himself for it and viewing it as, like, a bad thing the whole time. Yeah.
Yeah, my read of it, and I actually think it kind of ties in thematically with Social Network too, and making like about another film about the internet and about the internet era, because I really took it as a film about. I think a lot about the idea of optimization, and about how, like, so much of culture, specifically American culture, is built around optimization and built around doing things as efficiently as possible, and kind of, you know, trying to follow every TikTok recipe, and, you know, go to the gym the correct amount of times and show off that life, and use Amazon so you get your package the next day, and all of these things. And I took this as kind of like almost a satire of that, especially as all of the internet, I mean, WeWork's there from the beginning, but as Amazon and Starbucks and all these other things become very bluntly in the frame, I really took it as him talking about the internet in a way that I wouldn't have expected from this material.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I said that because you love that.
We're not getting any of that.
He used that account. Like, I would take like something like Uber and like
something about an Uber.
Uber.
We're not getting any of this right now, Edwin.
I think it's a caveat to the technology side of that, the satirical element look that Josh was talking about. That's what it feels like.
Right.
And oh, was that his exit?
He's gone.
Maybe he's gonna try to reconnect.
He had to go find Chris.
But I love procedural stuff too.
Yeah.
And I love people like doing step by step, and this is that in the entire movie essentially, is seeing every step of this, this long section at the beginning that's just this failed hit, and then the blowback on him, and then the blowback that evolves from that. And we're just seeing kind of every single. I mean, we don't see every single detail, obviously, because then it'd be like a week long. But like, essentially, we're seeing every significant detail of how he's doing everything.
Yeah, every like mechanism.
And you see enough of the routine as well.
Yeah,
like that. I mean, that's the one thing is you're seeing a constant routine, and even just down to like the biggest thing was obviously just the usage of the Smiths. I mean, just going with one, they basically went with like two different like needle drop artists, and it was the Smiths obviously mostly had in his ears, and there's one sequence where they use a Portishead track, which was an incredible moment. But I love the usage of the Smiths because it just obviously set his mode. It set his mood. You knew right away where he was thinking the entire time of that sadder place of existence.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like it's a pretty unique entry in that, because I also love the like efficiency and just procedural kind of I mean, like all the President's Men's, one of my favorite movies. Like I love seeing that step-by-step work done, but I think it's such an interesting example of it, because the first thing we see him do after like kind of the intros is mess up, and then that one mistake just begins to basically unravel him, and he keeps
absolutely
like not messing up to an extent that's like over the top or cartoonish or anything, but just overthinking little details wrong, not thinking about the dog, or like when Tilda Swinton's character comes in and first sees him, and she just basically goes, "What do you do it? Like, this is kind of dumb. The way you're doing this right now," and he's just kind of off in a little way that I think again speaks to that idea of optimization. And the problem with living life that way is as soon as you accidentally hit the top, it's going to start wobbling,
and then also just that ties into the idea of him being this guy he is sort of slowly, a lot of those mistakes come from him humanizing people and having empathy and disobeying his own rules. Edwin, what's up?
I have to go. My phone fucking die. I'll do a little video or something afterwards. All right, my phone's gonna die. All right.
Okay, sounds good. We'll see you later, Edwin. Bye.
Enjoy the movie. We're just gonna get that freeze, right?
Yeah, I hope it just stays there.
I hope it stays there forever. Yeah. Like it'll be there for future ones too. Like that'll just be the first thing I see. I want that.
But yeah, and there's so many like little good bits in this that I just don't want to ruin. Like the Storage Wars joke made me cackle watching it again, or
that was a fantastic bit.
Or the Tilda Swinton's joke is great as well.
Yeah, honestly, everything Tilda Swinton was just a reaffirmation of this. This is why anything she will ever do, I will watch every single moment of it and love. Just relish in it, and she's very minimal in this, but every single thing was just great with her. Their interactions were fantastic.
Yeah,
and then obviously just the score. I mean, just to Trent Atticus obviously been working with David Fincher for a while now on different things, but like it's one of those where you just they even had that real methodical approach to everything. Like it's funny because obviously we saw the Ninja Turtles animated. I forget the name at the top of my head. But they did that, and obviously in such a fun way where you could tell they were just going, just blasting off the sounds. Yeah. We're here, the reservation and just that real ambient, everything really matched thematically with how we were working with Fassbender's character throughout it and the way it was a perfect marriage of a score. I've listened to it on its own a few times, and it's really, really good.
Yeah, I think that's what's most surprising about them as composers for film is how adaptable they are. I kind of think you would assume a lot of times when like a more pop artist is brought in, to a composer, you're kind of going for their sound, and just all the differences in their Bones and All score, their Soul score, like they can adapt to the film.
Yeah, the Watchmen, everything. Yeah,
some of those old
without not having like signature sound moments and different like. They have such things where I immediately can identify. Okay, that's them. That's them doing it over the years, and I love that about them. But again, everything is that broad paintbrush, depending upon what they're doing, that broad stroke. And that's the wonderful thing. And I get excited every time that we get to see them. But you almost forget that's as much. It's really been a part of the Fincher world for such a while now.
Yeah,
those guys. So
yeah, no, I mean they are in a long lineage of major like pop artists to composers with like Danny Elfman and Mark Mothersbaugh.
Well, and Robbie, I mean, to tie the two films together, Robbie Robertson.
Yeah.
For
definitely
Scorsese,
I did think it was funny in The Killer, the quote, I don't know if that quote he can't place is from Aleister Crowley, which is pretty funny, the most evil man who ever lived, so to speak. From his occult teaching Thelema, the do as thou wilt is the whole of the law, which he says early, which is a very early movie thing for him to say, considering his arc. I thought that moment was pretty funny too. And I have another little thing to talk about, but it kind of goes into spoilers if we want to hop into there.
Sure.
Anything else to say first?
I guess the only last thing I'll say that's not really spoilery is, on top of everything we've been saying of what it does thematically, how funny it is, all of these other things, it also has, like, I would say maybe the best non-John Wick, and even in the conversation with John Wick action scenes of like the last 10 years.
Absolutely. It was incredible.
American filmmaking. But yeah,
absolutely.
It was astonishing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good preface, by the way, of American cinema, because I know where you were going with some of the things we've been seeing. I got to kill one to talk about later with that vibe. Yeah. But anyways, yeah.
Certainly if there's justice, it's going to be nominated. It would be nominated for the Spike TV Award for Best Fight Scene this year. I don't know if that's a real.
For sure.
I don't know if that's a real
totally.
award, but if it is,
I feel like
that has to be one of them for sure.
Yeah.
It's got to be like that. Maybe like especially if you're talking American, Tom Cruise and Pom Klementieff in that little hallway in Dead Reckoning. There's probably at least something. It's been a while since I saw John Wick. Something from there.
That's what the Oscars should do instead. Instead, everyone wants them to add stunt coordination.
Yeah.
Instead, they should just add like sickest stunts.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Totally. Honestly.
Best fight scene sponsored by Nacho Cheese Doritos.
MTV owned those, man. Those movie awards back in the day just had those wild categories. I think I mentioned to you the one that was like, it was like best dramatic pause, but the way they would do the nominations, they would show the entire dramatic pause moment and add a context right next to each other. It's the most amazing like minute and a half of media I've ever seen, I think. It's just wild. We need those. We need bring back the MTV Video Music Award or the movie award era.
Yeah.
I think they stopped doing it many years ago, but that was fantastic.
I'm gonna throw up the spoilers. I want to talk about the conversation. The Wizard of Oz, at the end. The Wizard of Oz wearing the Sub Pop T-shirt at the end.
One of my favorite costuming details of the year. So good.
Yeah. I think it's interesting to talk about. It's almost hard for me to talk about the thematics of the movie without that ending, because it's like so much of the beginning. Because he's not like a total asshole alpha guy in a way. He has some sort of perspective on the idea that he is part of this thing. He has that line early on about being a part. But I think the real like cynicism and scary part of this is that, to a certain degree, he's talking about like the many versus the them, and the idea of the people running the machine versus the people exploiting the machine. And I think what he finds out at the end is that there's nobody's in charge of the machine. Like this, he didn't even know. He walks into this guy's house with a silenced pistol, and he finds out that the whole reason this thing happened is because this guy bought the extra, like the extra coverage, the way you would like be like, I'll buy the $25 flight insurance, sure, why not? You know what I mean? And that's like, because of that, this entire horrible chain of events has played out, and that, I think that's really interesting.
Yeah, I think it too is like, not just that nobody is really running it, or it's not being run coherently, but the people running the game aren't thinking about the game.
Yeah.
Like that he's participating in this thing that the people in charge, they don't, not only do they not give a shit, it's not even like part of their consciousness,
Right.
And so I'm curious, how do you guys take so it's my favorite line reading. I usually don't agree with Edwin's hyperbole, but I actually do think it's my favorite Michael Fassbender performance. I think, and my favorite moment is in that last conversation when he says, I can't remember verbatim, but he says like, I come into your house to kill you, and you don't even know why I'm here.
Yeah.
And I'm curious your guys' take, because I've talked to some people and heard different takes on that line. What do you guys think he's expressing with that?
Yeah, I remember I heard you talking to Daniel about this the other night.
Oh,
so
okay, you were there, right?
I thought maybe you would bring this up, and so I was thinking about it, and it's hard because I wonder if it's a deliberately ambiguous line, because and so sometimes when there's an ambiguous line, I'm more interested in reading possible interpretations than I have a.
Sure.
I'm kind of into the ambiguous thing more too, especially because of where we went on that journey. From starting as a character who was so, like, again, calculated in every step of the way, then he misses. He starts to unravel. Then it was like a veteran at the top of his craft, slowly unraveling. So it almost felt, that ambiguity toward the end almost felt more to me in a way, like that openness, because you're almost like, I've reached a peak of my career.
Yeah.
I only know what this life is, but I'm so self-aware of what this life is. But what's next? You don't have that thought.
Yeah.
Are the two major interpretations that, or maybe there's more, but is it that in one he is saying it as in, you're such an evil fucker who does so much stuff that you couldn't tell, or and then is the other that the more callous, like, you just don't even know what's going on, sort of thing?
Yeah, I guess honestly, as we're talking about it, the scene as a whole, I kind of think those two are almost the same.
Yeah.
I feel like it's almost the same thing, which is you're so callous that you weren't even thinking about this, and this could have been one of 1,000 things to you, because you make 100 decisions every day that could lead to someone wanting to come in and kill you, and you just don't even think about them. You just make the decision and then you go have lunch,
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess they're really the same read. But either way, I think that moment is just incredible.
Oh, for sure. No, I mean, it definitely it is. I mean, it is a narratively that the Wizard of Oz thing, but it's the most like deflating version of it, and then it just ends with Michael Fassbender back home like, fuck, like, I'm just a normie, and then the movie ends. Like, it just that there is no escape. It's a very cynical movie, but it's a very funny movie too. And I enjoy Fincher's brand of cynicism.
Yeah.
Ooh. Do you want to talk about killers?
Yeah.
Sure.
All right. Let me turn off this.
Talk about killers. We all got a great killers experience. Did we talk about that at all?
Yeah, we definitely can.
First time we all saw it together.
Oh, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Why is the screen? Hold on.
Because we all went.
1 second.
Oh, sorry.
I don't know why the screen did that. Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, because we all went to see it that opening weekend Friday night at the Chinese Theater in Hollywood, and we got to see the great master himself do a Q&A right before the screening, which was pretty awesome, seeing Marty in person that way. And we all got to go.
Yeah, it was super cool. It was a great experience. Does Josh, do you want to give us a summary of the film?
Sure. So, I mean, it's basically about trying to pull up. I'm so bad with character names. So Leo is Ernest Burkhart, who comes back. He comes back from war, right? He's He's like just discharged.
Yeah.
But he was just like was he a cook or something?
Something like that.
I'm butchering this already. Okay.
And
Yeah.
So anyway.
is it the Great War, so to speak?
I think so.
I think it is. Because it's not
I
the
guess
Civil
I'm
War, I don't think.
This is why I'm bad with some race, because I get too in the weeds.
It's World War One.
Basically,
it's World War One.
Okay. Because he develops a romance with Lily Gladstone's character Molly, and they fall in love. They get married, and at the same time, this is when the Osage Nation developed a fortune from finding oil fields under the land they were basically pushed to by the U.S. government. They discover these oil fields, and then that money comes under basically, white. The white people come for the money because they're unhappy that another group has it. And so there's a series of murders that's eventually investigated. I know that's a bigger part of the book than the film. The investigation with Jesse Plemons is definitely a more minor aspect. It's really more about just kind of these characters' lives as this is unfurling and kind of the trust being frayed and all of these things. And then a third act that kind of brings that to the more violent and then legal proceedings.
Right.
Yeah. What'd you think, Brian?
Overall, of the entire my first initial takeaway. I mean, I really loved it. I mean, it was a master. It was one of those you're seeing just a master in filmmaking. And I appreciated so much of it. Like I didn't feel the runtime. I know everyone loved to rip on the runtime for it. And then you and I, Connor, have had conversations where it's like, I enjoy the tight 90s when we see these shorter films next to these, but this was an experience where it's like, no, honestly, it didn't feel that bloated.
No, I think, to have an aside here about the discourse, because I have this written down. I for this specific movie, it didn't bother me.
Right.
I think the answer here is right in front of our faces, which is just bring back intermissions. Easy, come on. It's good for the theaters, gets more concession sales.
Concessions.
And I think comparisons to streaming, where you can pause it whenever you want, and theater, where you get intermissions, are kind of like, all right, like you're proving my point.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. No, for absolutely.
But I didn't in this case. It wasn't like I thought the movie itself, it could have used intermission in the way that a lot of movies the last couple of years could have used intermissions, but
sure.
It did not specifically hurt the overall movie, its length, I think. That's my takeaway. That's my comment on the length of discourse.
Yeah. But I like it. I mean, but it's also one of those. It's a movie I don't. Just to finish, it's a movie I don't know. I loved it, but I don't know if I'd run back to see it again. Like it's like Oppenheimer is obviously another film that another huge runtime, blah blah. Another historical look at things. But it's like Oppenheimer removes some things I could want to see that on more on the regular. And I think it's a testament to how good of a film it is, because I just felt you kind of almost feel like you buy into what happens with these characters, and you feel it so much that you're like, I just don't want to witness this over and over again. But it's like that's the point, obviously, of what this is. But I think for just that alone, it's just a tough one to want to go rewatch for me in that sense.
Yeah, I think that's a thing too. Like, I mostly agree that when I've had the thought of, on a boring afternoon, like, oh, maybe I'll go catch it again. I don't want to go through it, not because of the length, not because of anything like that, just because of the emotional experience. Totally. It's such a tough watch, especially once you know everything that's happening. It basically every moment of the movie is bleak, even the moments that were happy the first time you watched it.
The entire third act is just that reminder. That's where I feel like, because that's the moment you feel like swindled, because you're almost like, oh, maybe it's going to go this one way, because this is, I got these characters that feel like there's charisma. I'm thinking in my head, but you're thinking the talent who's behind them, not the actual characters. And as you're realizing these characters as they develop, it just gut punches you as you're like, fuck, these people everybody's awful. You're like, everybody's just terrible. And it's a reminder of that, more so with those two.
Yeah, and just how I think, because basically, without getting into the specifics, when you basically find out just how bad stuff is and who's doing what and all of that, it happens so kind of naturally that I turned to the person next to me and I was like, did we know this whole time that this was happening? And they were like, oh, I figured it out a little bit ago. And I think it's that how casual the evil is, and obviously that's a pretty that's a common theme. Like I know the Zone of Interest that's coming out next month is also about that, but I think it's so cleverly embedded in a domestic drama in a way that is genuinely so unsettling and terrifying for any number of reasons. The fact that Leo and Lily Gladstone's character do have these genuinely sweet moments together makes the whole thing so much more painful in the end.
Got punched fully. Like you just can't believe what you're seeing. You're like, this is really the reality of it. And I know obviously you're being truthful to the history of it, and that's obviously what makes it even more horrific. I think, I love watching crazy horror shit. I can't wait to see Eli Roth do whatever maniac shit he's going to do this weekend. But when it's the real horror shit, and that's the stuff that you're just like, I can't get. That's the stuff that bothers you at night. And I think that's the thing with that watch is I just was like, man, I got home that night and just was like, I'm fucking sad,
Yeah.
But it was like an experience that I was so happy to have, but I just didn't want to run back even with our A-list and be like, yeah, like you said, Josh, in a boring Tuesday,
Yeah,
because of that.
Definitely.
It is still, I would also say I did not rewatch it at a big part because of how long it is, and it is more of one of those things where I am thinking about I gotta cut out that's 3.5 hours for the movie itself. And then we got to think about travel there and travel back, and I can't get
and
there
trailers, time for trailers,
right.
Yeah, I feel I gotta be brave. My hottest take about this movie is that I thought it was good. I don't think I loved it the same way people did, and I was really pumped for it. I think, and maybe a revisit.
Oh, me too.
Maybe maybe a revisit in a year. I'll like some more of it, but and obviously the subject matter is super relevant. I don't know. Like any of the fucking Armand White fucking bozos, you're like, it's a woke movie. That's why I don't like it. Those people can go fucking jump off the cliff.
Stupid.
It's fucking stupid shit. That stuff obviously is great. I think the performances are really good, especially De Niro and Gladstone. I think it's really well made.
Yeah, absolutely.
I had one big issue with the narrative, and I don't know if I should bring it up before we go into spoilers or not, but it kind of made the movie dramatically. There's a decision the movie makes, and it's kind of what we're talking about. It's not a decision the movie makes. There's a thing.
Well, do you want to venture into that?
Yeah, do we just go into spoilers? Honestly, it's kind of hard to talk about.
This is one of those movies where what we've done is really what you can describe without going into the detail, because it isn't some super oh, there's the spoiler or the real twist of the movie. It doesn't work that way. So
and so
makes sense.
Yeah, I put up the spoilers. I think I had a hard time. I feel like the core of the narrative, for my read of the core of the narrative, is the tension between the domestic life and the evil things that Ernest is doing in the context of that domestic life, the tension between those two things and how directly related they are. And while I understood what Ernest saw in Molly, I never really bought that Molly would be into Ernest. And it kind of made me just be I don't know. I felt I was watching a horror movie. What are you doing? Leave. This guy sucks.
Yeah, totally.
I know he sucks. I'm seeing him be a shithead right in front of me.
And you're watching her and you're he sucks too.
Yeah, she's saying it, and it's not that I don't think that could work, but it just didn't quite work for me, and so it ended up kind of deflating a lot of the narrative tension for me. So when I was watching it, I was more taking in the horrible details of the story, which is still fascinating. I thought it was funny that before the movie, Scorsese was talking about how he talked to the Osage, and they said that Molly and Ernest actually loved each other or something, and De Niro thought these were his was actually friends with the Osage. And I watched the movie, and I don't read it like that. Personally, it reads more like these are assholes. I think the movie's kind of about that, but it didn't quite work for me dramatically because of that. I gotta be honest.
I think the, not to correct Sir Martin Scorsese, but I feel almost the better way to phrase it would have been that Ernest truly believed he was in love with her than that he was in love with her, because like plainly he's not. I mean, you don't do these things to somebody you're in love with, like that just is factually false. But I do believe that he thought he was, and I think I'm fascinated by Leonardo DiCaprio's performance in this film, because it feels so much more mannered than he usually is, which makes it feel like a choice, since he's such a good actor and the director is Martin Scorsese. I feel like sometimes I can give a little more leeway if I feel like there's probably a reason. And I think he plays him so simple and mannered, because I do think he's supposed to be kind of a cipher, which I know is like a classic defense excuse. Like they're not supposed to be that deep. But I think what they do is, in that vacuum, that's where De Niro and Gladstone fill in, and they basically, whoever he's with in the scene, whichever one of them he's with, or whichever side he's on in that scene, that fills his personality. And I do think, for me, those scenes work. I saw that it was actually improv to the scene that was in the trailers where Lily Gladstone says something in Osage, and he responds, must be Indian line. Or must be Indian for having some devil. Yeah. And
it's a good line.
That was improv, and that her laugh is genuine. And so I think for me it works because I think they lay enough of those breadcrumbs, but also because I honestly might just give enough leeway to Lily Gladstone's performance. It's I know I just said in the last segment that I wasn't hyperbolic, but like I kind of think it might be like one of the great film performances. Like it'll be in a montage with like On the Waterfront and shit in 20 years, especially in her final scene. I put on my letterbox. I'd never seen someone do that with their eyes before. Just all of the things that she's doing, and they're shaking, and I think she's so incredible that the fact that she can be have a justifiably hard exterior, but then softens for him, kind of just allowed me through her performance to buy into their relationship, because I believed she wouldn't soften for someone that wasn't worth it in her mind.
Yeah, I think mine was more just on like the writing and the scenes specifically, you know, like, and like what we were given. I know that the book is apparently structured a little differently, where you know less about what Ernest has done during the movie, and I think that would almost make, because there is that reveal towards the end. And I was kind of like, I had the same thing. I was like, is this a reveal? Like, we kind of know this, and I think
it's just a full confirmation.
And that it kind of works for me, because I kind of like the idea that he's just so kind of stupid that he doesn't even know, in a way.
Well, see, and that's the thing. Like, speaking performance-wise, that's where I give Leo a lot of credit, because the thing is, what everybody is. I mean, there's no denying that those two other performances are incredible. Like De Niro alone, like he had so much, but I felt like they played their like boisterous characters so well. But like the big thing with Ernest's character is you're basically kind of always, the film's always asking that question of like, where does stupidity end and complicity begin? You know, and the way he sort of navigates everything is in that like that back and forth. You don't really realize it, but then you just realize that those two things ultimately lead to the same place. But like having him play that kind of like aloofness to him almost really benefited that overall arc of it, because if you imagine it structurally to the way you're talking with the book, that probably is easy to drop on it, where you're like, this character does it. It would be so jarring to have like DiCaprio completely make a turn of a character, whereas this slow movement of it almost makes a lot of sense to like the way that like you have a strong character in Lily be able to sort of like still succumb to all that he is doing, because he's got that line of what he can do. And it's interesting that I appreciate Leo for that, for not going over the top that he's been known to do a lot.
You know who did go over the top, though? My man, Brendan Fraser. The Oscars released that he was actually, the whale Oscar was actually supposed to be for his performance in Killers of the Flower Moon. They gave it to him a little early. It's understandable, but I think he is. I know it's been like a hot debate online. Like, what's the debate? I think he's so much fun. He brings so much energy to that last act. Him and John Lithgow, who's one of my all-time favorites.
Lithgow's his best.
Their energies playing off of each other is so good.
Because it twisted it in this other way that gave this energy of a film that you were like, okay,
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
and I'm sorry, I love Plemons. So as soon as
Plemons
Plemons came
also,
on, I know
yeah.
a lot of people were like, "Oh,
Definitely.
that's silly." I loved it, and then just adding on when you got to that ending with Lithgow and
Honestly,
Frasier was just like
I like
beautiful.
that last hour or so probably the most. Like once
Same,
once you introduce,
because once you realized all
Plemons,
the shittiness of it all too, and you were like, "Okay, now finally some accountability can happen." You felt like in the movie, anyways.
And I think my favorite scene, and maybe the funniest scene in the movie, is when Leo is in the room and saying like, "Nah, I didn't do all this stuff," and then they like open the door and there's a guy there, and then they do like the same gag in like the very next scene. And
yeah.
His like, I know I'm caught and I'm in trouble was just great because he didn't know what to do. And again, that's just a testament to his character.
Yeah.
Oh shit, there's something.
It's these two sides smashing together. It's the two lives he's living.
And you get something just completely moronic because like he doesn't, his brain does not know what to connect otherwise, and that's fantastic.
Almost all of my issues, I think, lie more in the screenplay. I think
Sure.
Maybe even more than I didn't have a problem with the direction either. I think it didn't quite click for me. I think.
Yeah. I think that's fair, and honestly, of the talent involved in this film, which is a lot, Eric Roth is the least reliable person of that bunch for me. Like Benjamin Button and Forrest Gump are two of my like least favorite movies of that scale and size and stuff. So, I didn't know that he wrote Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close. Wow. But yeah, so he like I think that's I mean, not that you can't like what Scorsese did, but I do think that is a more a justifiable case to make that maybe Eric Roth did some dumb little shortcuts and stuff. Yeah, and I think for me the biggest thing is it's not even disagreeing with that, but just for me personally, the other aspects of the film covered those spots over for me better.
For sure.
But
I have another kind of spicy take. I'm gonna just delete because I don't want to get into it.
One other thing I wanted to say about the last hour thing. It's crazy to me because it was the same thing with Oppenheimer, where a lot of people said they liked it until the last hour. And for both that and this film, that kind of blows my mind because that's where it all coalesces. That's where it all becomes like the beginning of both films. The first 2 hours are more just like, you know, they're
wandering in the journey of it. Yeah.
But setting everything up. And then the last act, you know, is bringing it all together.
I get it more with Oppenheimer. I feel like post the auditorium scene, there's still like 45 minutes left of the movie. And there probably could have been like 20 minutes left of the movie right then. And this is, I'm saying I actually I like Oppenheimer more, but I think where Oppenheimer, I felt like a version I would like even more would have been tighter. Killers of the Flower Moon, I almost could have had be like a series or something that like really got into all.
I think that's the only way you could structurally change it. I think that's why there was a lot of people saying you can't really cut a lot, and this is one of those where I do have a hard time really arguing with that.
I think
There's
Oppenheimer,
many films I'm on your side
out of personally.
Yes, that you could.
Even though the highs in that are higher because as I've been talking to people, I wish I could just. I mean, it doesn't work as well without all that buildup. But like the first time that Trinity test,
the rewatchability part of it,
the Trinity test the first time was like I thought I was gonna have like a fucking panic attack, like in the theater.
Well, and that moment, most of the reason I brought that up is even less the Oppenheimer connection than just Scorsese's kind of like late period to me. I love I think this is kind of becoming my favorite period of his work. Silence, The Irishman, in this.
Silence,
because all three of them
I love Silence.
Just have these super long beginnings that are just very slowly, methodically building this world, fully enveloping you in it, and then this last hour where it just becomes the most soul crushing thing you've ever seen. And I really like that phase that's so human and so cynical at the same time, because I think that's a hard thing to pull off, and I think the length allows him to develop the humanness of it and then drop the cynicism at the end without it feeling cheap or unearned.
And I think that's why it's easier to also like pen on the spiritual elements of this period of his work too. But I don't buy into it that much. I mean, I just see how it's like that's the ability to, because of where he's at in a place of that, the way he paces these films.
Yeah. That's all. I don't have anything else to say about Killers of the Flower Moon.
No, I mean, I'm glad we experienced it the way we experienced it, and you know.
No, it was a great
I'm
experience.
content and I'm happy with it. I mean, if something came up down the road where there's a screening, yeah, I would obviously do it, but I don't think it's something I'd throw right away on my home watch. But
yeah, it's not quite. I appreciate Scorsese's new era. I haven't disliked any of the films. But I definitely.
I just don't want to keep. Back,
they aren't as like. It's not like The Departed or something where I'm like, hell yeah, let's fucking go,
well, because
baby.
I can even because that's the thing. I can actually say the same thing with Silence and Irishman. I've loved both experiences of them. Have I gone back? I haven't.
Yeah.
But where those old ones, obviously, those are as often as you can.
Let's fucking go, King of Comedy. I still need to see After Hours. That's my big
different
goal.
hours.
I need to see After Hours.
Oh man, what a film!
Which I think
a film After Hours is.
I'm gonna think that
you will
great.
absolutely love After Hours.
Let's move on to these other movies. Let's start with me talking by myself for a minute just to get it over with. Talking about Anatomy of a Fall. I just have one background for all of these. This really low res JPEG for Academy Awards invite I found online. Anatomy of a Fall. What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say it looks like one of the original JPEGs ever on the internet.
Yeah, this is the first one. It was
the first one. Yeah.
This got posted as a 10-minute file after me at the zoo on YouTube. Anatomy of a Fall. So I should say we've talked about. We're going to talk about 3 films here: Anatomy of a Fall, The Holdovers, and Dream Scenario. And I kind of knew going in to this, I usually kind of have a good feeling about what my favorite movies of the year are going to be. When I see it, I'm like, oh, this is definitely at the top.
Yeah.
And Guardians 3 and Bottoms. The second I saw both of those, I was like, okay, these are going to be hard to get past for me. But other than Killers,
and just to caveat, my 2 are Bottoms and Evil Dead Rise.
Nice.
Would be the 2.
I loved Evil Dead Rise is really up there for me, but
so good.
Most of these made it really far up there, and Anatomy of a Fall is really terrific. It's about a woman. It's about this family, mixed German French family. They've got a blind kid and a dog, and they're living in the French Alps, and they're kind of having problems, the couple. And one day, after coming back from a walk with the dog, the kid finds the dad having fallen from one of the higher floors in the building to his death. And then the movie becomes. Let me take off the spoilers over here. We're not going into spoilers.
You're gonna spoil her. You're not gonna spoil this one, right?
No, I'm not
So
gonna spoil.
I do have this one.
I would also say this is a hard movie to spoil because so much of the movie is about the ambiguity. It reminded me a lot. I have an idea that's kind of close to this. It reminds me a lot of The Staircase, the documentary series, which if people haven't seen, is an incredible documentary series that really gets into. It kind of becomes irrelevant whether or not the person did it. That's not really the point. It's more the emotional toll that happens. I guess you do have to kind of invest in the idea of looking at it from the point of view that they didn't do it, because if you're on the other side, then the whole time you're just yeah, get her, But the movie is it's like a fucking nightmare. It made me feel sick to my stomach watching it.
Interesting.
In a good way, in a way that I thought was purposeful, but
you were super engaged the whole time?
Yeah, super engaged. I will say it is a slow movie, and it makes a very bold decision by slowing down even more at the midpoint. Because it kind of switches. At the midpoint, it switches from a procedural where they're kind of gathering all the evidence to a court case. And there's some really, really long court scenes that go...
To me, from what I saw from the trailers and little things, it felt more of it was going to be a big courtroom drama kind of film.
It's half and half. I would say half the movie is a courtroom drama.
That makes sense.
and
You're
maybe
playing out the events, and then
and even the second half, there's like non-courtroom stuff, obviously.
Mhm.
But the lead Sandra Hüller is fucking incredible in this,
I heard good things.
and also the dog in it is also incredible.
Oh yeah.
One of the best dog. There's like a tracking shot early on where the dog like stops multiple times and like looks at things, and you like
Oh,
register.
funny.
You kind of like register from like, to the degree that dogs have thoughts on things. You kind of
Yeah,
register feelings like the dog has about things, and I'm like, how the fuck they get this dog to do this? Like some fucking special ass French dog. Like what?
It won the
That's
Palm Dog
funny.
this year.
Oh, nice.
Cannes,
The
yeah.
Palm Dog. Is that a real
Yeah.
thing, or are you just making? Did you just
Yeah,
create that?
it's like a silly like offshoot thing.
Oh,
That's
really?
amazing.
The side of the group gives out during Cannes, yeah.
Oh, nice.
That's amazing.
Um,
It's like the Puppy Bowl, basically. The Puppy Bowl of Cannes. Is
Yeah, exactly.
That's great.
because
Exactly.
the movie itself won the Palme d'Or, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want Palm d'Or. Yeah.
But yeah, no, I loved it. It definitely. I also say it helped me because years ago, Under the Silver Lake is a movie that I know a lot of people really like. I really don't like that movie, and part of the reason I don't like that movie is because it reminds me of an idea I have, and it made me mad watching it.
Okay.
But
that makes logical sense more to
Because
me.
I was gonna say, I thought you would have loved that movie.
Yeah, and that was the thing, because that's one of the few that we did not vibe on. I remember early when we met, I was like, "Oh, that's interesting." That threw me off.
I can get into that, but I did realize that it isn't just that it was doing something that I had because Anatomy of a Fall is also kind of doing something I have an idea about, totally differently. Under the Silver Lake is a lot closer tonally, I would say. Anatomy of a Fall tonally is like completely differently, but I still loved it, even though it was kind of like on a same wavelength. I think Under the Silver Lake, I think there's one of those things where if something is, it's like the uncanny valley, where like if something is really near the mark but doesn't quite hit it, it can really go wrong in my brain. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
sure. Where you just go like, "Fuck this!" I'm seeing the things I would like, and I love the scene with the old man. That scene.
Oh
great.
yeah,
that's
the songwriter.
That's
Yeah,
the best
yeah,
part.
At the end of so like, oh yeah, I mean.
I just
That's the
couldn't
reward
get
for that
over how
journey.
much he was like drowning in pussy and how much of like a self-insert thing it felt like in that degree. But that's my take.
You've just matured as a man, is what you're saying, Connor.
Yeah.
Over the years, it's fine. You're different.
Let's see. All right. Let's talk about the Holdovers really quick. Me and Josh have seen The Holdovers. It's Alexander Payne's new comedy drama set in like 1971 or 70.
That sounds right. Yeah, 70. Yeah.
It's about this group of characters, mainly this this teacher, this tenured, I think, or something like that, tenure at this boys like high school academy sort of thing. What are those called in boarding school? For rich kids in America up in the Northeast, and Paul Giamatti is this sort of curmudgeonly old teacher who all the students hate, and he hates all the students. And this one main kid, I don't remember that actor's name, and I don't remember the characters' names, unfortunately. He's stuck there. There's some other kids there, and then there's the chef. The cook, and it's just about their relationships. And I also really loved this one. Alexander Payne is really up there for me in terms of like non-genre filmmakers, because I'm such a genre guy, but he's the stuff he is like him and Noah Baumbach for some reason like are like continuously are usually like on my my wavelength. Ooh. I think this is one of his best, honestly. I love the relationship between Giamatti and the kid. I love the actors. I love the way it progresses and the revelations and the decisions made in the last half. Yeah, that was great stuff.
Yeah, I really dug it too. I think it's definitely a performance forward movie for me.
Yeah.
That's really what captivated me. I think Giamatti's incredible. I really love Divine Joy Randolph
Mhm.
as she's the cook who she's lost her son in the war. And he actually, so I saw this at a Q&A. There's randomly a Q&A at the Burbank 16 with Alexander Payne, and he said that he saw her in Dolomite Is My Name, which is the same film that I first like noticed her in, and I thought she was incredible in that. And so I'm so glad that she has gotten a bigger role, specifically based off that. And then the kid apparently, Dominic Sessa is his name. I just know because I'm looking at it, but he apparently went to one of the boarding schools. They apparently had so much trouble finding someone, auditioned everyone in Hollywood, and then went to all these Northeast boarding schools that they were going to film at, and just auditioned people there. And he was just a drama student there.
He's great. He's
so good.
He's so good. He reminds me of my high school best friend a lot.
Oh, really?
To be honest, but he's so good because what I think makes those, especially, I mean, in some ways it is the three of them, but it's also kind of the two of them. You know what I mean? Like in terms of the main dynamic of the movie. And they have such a good dynamic, and a large part of that is that their performances, where you sympathize with both and you like both, but you also totally understand why the other annoys the other as much as they do. And you sympathize with that part of their relationship.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think their relationship is so beautifully built that my main criticism of the film, and that I really liked overall, is I think Divine Joy Randolph's character is stuck somewhere between supporting character and main character.
Yeah. And
I think her story either needed to be less, which I think could have gotten very problematic, or it needed to be a full third slice of the pie. And I think she's incredible, and the scenes that she has are great, but I think it's just a touch underdeveloped for trying to be about the three of them. But yeah, the relationship between him and the student, Giamatti and the student, is so good. And I honestly loved even a lot of the supporting cast. I'm a huge Good Wife fan, the CBS procedural, and Carrie Preston, who's the romantic interest for Giamatti.
Okay.
I love her, and I loved her in a pretty small role here, but one of those things where I just think they did such a good job casting that it brings a lot to a role that you don't see that much of as in a fully developed character. I think my other main knock against the film, which again overall I loved, was, without saying anything at all, you find out about a person's backstory in like the last 30 minutes, and in a way that I find a little hacky. But
are you talking about
those are really
Giamatti's?
No. Dominic Sessa's, the students.
Okay.
Just finding out about his backstory. I have some issues with that, but again, won't get into it. But overall, yes, I agree with you. I love Alexander Payne, and I think this is just, it's such a warm movie for how bitter and and sad it can be. That it's one that I feel like will really become, there's not enough like good fall movies, and I feel like this is really going to become, despite being set at Christmas, a really good fall movie.
Yeah, I think Payne gets at something where his humor and this stuff comes from a very bitter place a lot of times, and a very cynical place that I still really identify it. Yeah, I had a couple little nitpicks about it for sure. Not quite as big as yours. Mine were even smaller. Mine is just, I don't like the whole, like, I don't mind it, especially in this context. I liked it better here than in Skinamarink, which I also still liked. But I don't like the fake, like, film pops at the beginning.
Yes.
Like I don't mind once you get into the meat of the film. It's like whatever, because the movie's clearly shot on film, and it looks great. But I don't necessarily love the like deliberately making like the titles have that the
grainy kind of
the wobble and stuff. I don't mind like some texture I get, because you don't want it just to look flat and digital.
Oh, I know what you're saying because they did it for the title cards on the trailer at the end.
Yeah,
I know the vibe of
Yeah.
that. I know what you mean.
they do it,
So they did that the whole sound design. They had like that, like the pops to the whole film, or just the intro.
No, I don't think so. I think it's just
No, just the intro.
It's just in the
Copy,
first.
okay.
So
they went for the
intro.
aesthetic fully.
Yeah, like you hear it the most in the first 15 seconds, and then as like the opening titles are happening, it like fades out, and then it probably comes back in during the credits.
Sure.
That someday I'm very pro Fincher at this particular moment, but someday I can treat you to my long rant about Mank and how that exact thing is why I think Mank is bad as a whole. So yes, I totally get that kind of affectation being a little annoying.
It's I like it better here than in Skinamarink, because Skinamarink, it was like mismatched, where it was like 90s set but doing 70s style. That's even this, at least it's like fitting, it's era appropriate.
They wanted to sell that on the trailer, so it makes sense.
But that is such a small nitpick, especially when it goes away so quick. And I think it's more of like I can almost buy it as like a tone, and like Mank also is like the whole movie, you know what I mean? And this is just in that opening, so it kind of, in Mank you could almost, like, if you went in and out of it a little bit, you could do it, justify it as a style thing. I also I didn't like the fart in the movie and there's a reason why. I don't mind a fart joke. We're gonna talk about Dream Scenario in a second. Dream Scenario has a great fart joke. But I don't. There's a part where he's like, Paul Giamatti's stretching and getting ready for bed, and he they put a fart sound effect in, and I don't think he was acting. I don't think he knew when he was acting that there was going to be a fart sound effect put in. I think that was something they did afterwards. So I don't buy it in his performance that he actually farted there, and so that's why I don't like it.
I know exactly what you're talking about, and I completely agree.
Yeah,
His reaction's bizarre.
Yeah, it's
lack of reaction. Yeah,
it's like, you know, it's one of those things. If they wanted to put the random fart, you needed to have waited till he was like in the covers to doing it at least, because then it would be a little less. But he's like literally standing and stretching. You would think there would at least, like, or at the very least, if you are going to insert it later, like insert it on like a wobble, you know what I mean? Like when he does a wobble, that's when you put the sound effect. But it was like not. I remember clearly a post there. I remember hearing the you know, that famous. I wish I had it on my soundboard, but that famous like door opening sound effect and stuff. It's in
with the creak.
The creak. It's in the movie twice at the end when Paul Giamatti's like packing up his stuff. I was like, what the fuck?
That's great. So that's self-awareness, though. That's interesting. I kind of actually hearing it. I mean, I like that kind of. It's like that self-awareness that I appreciate about all the Tarantino stuff that, you know, he loves to do. I just appreciate some of that. I can hear it though.
Yeah. I'm going to let's move on to Dream Scenario. Paul is going to join us. He's seen Dream Scenario. I don't know if he's going to join us for that or just for the game, but we'll see.
Sure.
Dream Scenario, another very good new movie. Probably out of all of these movies, the movie that is going to get the most overlooked, if I had to guess.
Absolutely. I have a whole thing to talk about that.
Because it's too weird. It reminds me, I remember at the end, I didn't know that Ari Aster produced it, and when Ari Aster's name showed up, I was like, yeah, that makes sense.
Of course,
it reminded me a lot of like Being John Malkovich also, like vibe-wise.
Dude, totally.
Where it kind of had that feeling of like, you're watching it and you're like, what the fuck is going on?
The surrealness of it, you're just like, what are we doing? But it's so great.
Where you really feel, and I like, it doesn't work for every movie, but I really like it when you watch a movie that feels genuinely narratively unhinged like that, where you're truly just like, what the fuck is going, like, what am I, like, what is going to happen? And it gets unhinged. Like, there's a reveal. We might have to go into spoilers for this one, and maybe
I know this is that movie, Josh. The only thing, this is one thing I do want to say about, like, without even going into the context of the movie, but just the way you saying it's going to be overlooked. I saw it for Beyond Fest closing night, like I think it was like about a month ago now, I was thinking around that. So I had a few different weeks, and I remember, you know, we've seen a bunch of movies since then, and I've seen the trailer a bunch of times, and just feeling the vibe of the audience, it felt like, I think people are going to be skipping this one. You know, it didn't have that, and it made me sad because it is like, it's such a crazy, great performance by Cage, and just I love this crazy unhinged world and what it became from a very non-unhinged place, and it just goes off the rails.
It's Paul.
I can mute myself if you guys want to get into it.
You don't have to mute yourself. You just
it's if you want to hear. Yeah, it's up to you.
We can wait. We can stand back from major spoilers.
Okay. There's a lot to talk about with this without giving spoilers. I mean, like the overall, like, because it's not like a crazy complex narrative. It's pretty much this is what happens and then this happens.
Yeah, I mean the real there's a turn, I would say, in the last 30 minutes that's like pretty big. Mm-hmm. But most of the rest, it kind of, hey Paul, hi Pogo, thanks for joining. We're talking dream scenario right now. We can't hear you, unfortunately. You can try to figure that out. Yeah, I think it's funny because the narrative is essentially all these people start having dreams where Nicolas Cage is in them, and he's just standing around and
doing nothing,
and he's just doing nothing, and he becomes a big celebrity, and then at a certain point,
can you hear me now?
Oh, we can hear you now.
Okay.
At a certain point, the tenor of the dreams start to change, and as people start to turn on the experience of the dreams, they start to turn on him in real life. I think there's an easy read of the movie that it's like about cancel culture, and it kind of is, to a certain degree.
And but even like, you know, social media influencer culture, what it's like to become, you know, the overnight reality, and how like one person who's not used to celebrity, how you handle that, and when it changes. And I mean, they do a lot of that. That's the very upfront beats that you're like, of course, but the way you're delving in between and weaving through that is just fascinating.
Well, it's so surreal on one hand, and also I think that turn, when you think about that idea of it being like being about like an aggrieved man, and about how this guy is actually like a huge victim, and then you think about the turn that happens like 2/3 of the way into it, the revelation, the wrist related thing, and you think about that in the context of what was going on the rest of the movie, and it's like, was that all just like incidental?
Right.
You know, and it's hard to tell.
Well, and it's because it's even like you think of like the culture of the channels and everybody trying to get a piece of something, how quick that can come and at what cost, you know, like how much of that are you doing weird shit to get things to move. And I don't know, it just touched on a lot of those things, but the performance that Cage gave throughout that was he's the best. I mean, he deserves his own show to just go over his career, but
for sure.
I love where he is right now.
Yeah, I loved when you're talking about like cancel culture, I feel like it was more of like how, especially in like social media now, people can be just, some random person can be a celebrity over through some like viral video or something like that.
Right.
And it's not like it's sort of like they're being forced into celebrityhood. It's like not like they're, you know, asking for it and not really prepared for it. And they become sort of something that they're not. I don't know. They have like a public image now, and they have to worry about that stuff, and it's just, you know.
Well, I love the way like Julianne Nicholson, who played his wife in it, she like called that out early, and basically right before he, you know, this phenomenon started to happen, she said, "You want to stop and think about this for a minute?" And of course, no,
he's like,
he wanted that, and that was the catalyst, though. That was that last, like, are you sure? Here's the last warning. Unleash the beast, and it is what happened.
Well, that's that thing early on where like people keep saying like, "Oh, he doesn't want this attention." It's like, yeah, he fucking does.
Right. Of course he does. That's what he's craving. Yeah.
The thing is, like, my big problem with the movie, I loved it, really liked it. My big problem is just that later half. I just thought it was just mean. It almost felt like mean spirited, and like.
Yeah, I was okay with it. I felt like he handled it well. I thought,
Daniel,
like maybe you could say like, oh, he had it coming because he wanted the attention. It's like, no, I think he just didn't know the consequences or really understood. I just didn't. I don't know.
Yeah. No,
Maybe it's also my fears of just being misunderstood and stuff like that. It's very frustrating.
I think that's what's nuanced about the movie is that, you know, it's not that's where it gets into that more surreal territory, like something like being John Malkovich.
That's where you see the Ari Aster producer vibe even than that, because that's Beau is Afraid stuff right there, kind of.
I thought of that one.
Yeah,
it's like very much like Beau is Afraid in that sense.
Yeah, he's so good. Nicolas Cage is so good. I both love and hate, because I relate to it too much, how much his character takes everything anyone says about him as an insult. Like the most innocuous. Somebody can say the most innocuous thing, like, "Hey, are those new pants?" And like he'll take it as like some sort of horrible insult against him. And that felt very real. I identify with that. Being that self-conscious at times, like, fuck.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I loved the being self-conscious of the dreams.
Yeah.
Like, thinking of him a certain way, and he's upset about how he's coming across in the dreams because he thinks people think about him.
Yeah.
You know, it's like,
well, especially when the PR girl.
Yeah.
Because that was the dream of the fantasy style where he became like, oh, this isn't real. By the way, Michael Cera, he came in during that sequence as well. Another win for the year for him.
Definitely.
But
another great comedy supporting role of the year.
Absolutely. You just see him and you're like, I'm just glad you're here. Like, that's where I'm at with him.
I think I was funny. I think he has the worst beard.
I'm fine with it because it makes
I know it was great
when I see that. Yeah, I'm like, that's
like,
what I want to see.
Almost see them being like, can we make the beard more patchy? You know?
Yeah, totally. Can we CGI out your beard a little bit more?
Daniel, are you there?
There's the question mark next to it. Oh, wow.
Oh,
hey. Do you have anything? You're in your car right now.
I'm in my car.
Okay. Do you have any thoughts about the movies? We're about to move to the game, but do you have any thoughts about? We talk about 5 movies, and if you have any thoughts about any of them, you can rattle them off now. Try to avoid spoilers. I'm gonna name the movies, and you can say your thoughts. Okay.
Okay.
First, we talked about The Killer.
I loved The Killer. I thought it was. I want every director who has like a very strong stylistic voice to get to do a like quiet lone killer picture, and it had a lot of stuff that I loved and a lot of technical things that I can't get over. Like, I'm convinced, and I think I've now been proven correctly, that all of the handheld stuff is not handheld. It is dolly and
it's 4K
footage.
Post.
Yeah, it's giant 4K, and then it's zoomed in and moved around, which is insane.
And adding that stuff
it works
post,
so well.
Shape. Yeah, it's so well, so good.
It's a weird thing, but it gives you like supreme control over the image in a way that I think even like fits the narrative in a cool way.
Yeah,
I love it.
It's like showing why he's like, this is why handheld isn't good, but I appreciate what you can do out of some of the aesthetic, and it's just this crazy technical look at it that you're like, of course you're doing that.
It's extra funny that he's doing that in a movie that's also kind of him making fun of himself for being such a perfectionist.
Absolutely, absolutely.
All right.
I just love how you're using this immense technology to simulate holding a camera.
It's great. That's what I want right now. And in this era, that's what's doing it for me.
And it's specifically because Fincher is such a fucking, and I mean this with the most amount of love, such a little freak.
Sure.
About stuff.
Absolutely.
All right, Daniel,
that's why we love him.
Daniel, Killers of the Flower Moon.
Another great picture. I saw it a few times, and I'm an Oklahoma boy, and I had a teacher in high school who was very adamant about a lot of the stuff in Oklahoma history that was kind of not taught on the curriculum, one of which was what happened to the Osage, and another is the Tulsa Race Massacre. And so I was familiar with the story, and I read the book, and I thought the changes that were made from the book made for a better movie and were smartly, like, its focal points were really smart because as someone else put it, it was one of the indigenous people who I think worked on the movie and spoke about it, it's the best version that a white man could have made, that I think is really interesting. And I talked to Josh about it a lot too, that it was one of those things that just sort of like every day I would wake up and be like, oh, and just spend some time with it kind of lodged in my brain. And it really hasn't changed. I think it's maybe even grown more that I'm excited for it to hit streaming so I can watch it again.
Daniel, what about what was the next one? Anatomy of a Fall.
Oh man, I'm just waxing poetic about all these great things.
No,
also love that.
I was saying earlier about how 4 of the 5 movies we've talked about here are in my top like 6 for the year. So
yeah, you know what happens at the end of the year where you get a bunch of great stuff, and sometimes it feels really overwhelming because you get so much great that it's hard to like formulate a list because you're like, do I actually love these? Because I can't sit on them.
Forced on me, right?
Do I love these?
Good Lord, I feel like it's just like it's people like. Yeah, they're just fighting above their weight class. The lead performance, I forget the woman's name, but she's phenomenal.
I mentioned that, yeah.
Dog, I'm sure you talked about the dog.
I did.
Incredible dog performance.
There's
the whole shot breakdown of it.
Yeah, I wanted to talk specifically about that. There's that tracking shot early on where we get like reaction moments, beats from the dog in the middle of the tracking shot, and I'm like, how the fuck did they do this?
I was sort of dreading the kid at first. I was like, oh no,
kid's
gonna have to deliver some type of like performance, and then he killed it.
Fucking kills it.
Yeah, I also love that. Another one that I think I might like more in retrospect, the more I've thought about it, because I think a lot of what it has to say about these people that had like go through a very bad situation, and then every single aspect of their life is picked apart. And there's nothing they can do about it.
Kind of an
the public display of it, but also just these things you didn't realize would become issues because they kind of creep into like a marriage or the family dynamic or just your personality. And it's like kind of an alarming look at the way people are perceived beyond how they see themselves and the way that they portray themselves by this stuff. That I thought the sequence with where they listen to the audio recording, and she has to like contend with what the court thinks of her. I don't know if French courts are actually like that.
I don't know either. There was some
insane, but
there were some moments there where I was like, and maybe this was like my American understanding of court was like, how dare he? like how can he be allowed to say this?
I think French court's wild like that. It's Saint Omar was also about the French court last year.
European,
I think it's just like a lot more like narrative based. It's wild.
It felt like a fucking. It was like a rap battle at times. It was like people were like fucking stepping on each other, you know.
Oh, when they
about
read
the European culture getting it though. If Americans did it, we end up what we have.
It was great. It was great. Great film.
It almost would be a good companion piece thematically with some of that exposure stuff to Dream Scenario, which is one of the other movies we talked about. I don't know if you've seen that one, Daniel.
I have not seen that yet. I apologize.
And what about the Holdovers?
It's so good, Daniel.
I have not seen the Holdovers. I'm actually going to go see that tonight. I think.
Hell yeah, nice. Great flick.
So I won't speak to it. I don't want to hear about it unless you liked it. I'm excited to see it. I'm gonna go.
Me and Josh really.
If I don't start going to see things, I'm going to fall really far behind. So I think I'm just gonna suck it up and go to the movie.
You got to get ready because I'm leaving Wonka just ahead for a future programming. Wonka comes out the Friday before I leave that Tuesday, so I want to do an episode on it like that Sunday or something. I want to do
a pitch?
The Wonka holiday special. Yeah.
Here's our pitch. Here's my pitch. We all go see Wonka at the City Walk, and then we eat at that freaking scary Wonka restaurant at the City Walk.
Josh called that out early.
I said we should do a live episode from Toothsome.
I don't think we should do that because I like my little controls and my little soundboards, but I am okay with us. Maybe we can like set aside either that like Friday or Saturday, or even like early that Sunday if we had to.
It screened to critics, and it's like early. It's like not it's not out yet, but screened early enough that means the studio has confidence that it's going to get good reviews, which makes me excited.
I mean, it's the guy who did Paddington, and it was apparently a passion project for this guy. So like
that, if his name was not attached, I wouldn't touch this. But the fact that he could do whatever he wanted after he made a masterpiece, and he was like, I want to do Wonka, I have to know.
Yeah, no, that's what makes it interesting. If it wasn't for that, I would just be rolling my eyes at it and like get this fucking shit out of my face. And it doesn't look necessarily good. I think it does look very as the Zoomers would say, cringe. But but at the same time, there's that thing, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? Go ahead, Brian.
Well, sorry, Brian. No.
Brian, what were you saying?
Oh, I was just gonna say I don't have that because I didn't see the Paddington movies, so I don't know filmmaking style this. So I watched the trailer and I'm just kind of almost rolling my eyes. Like I'm not quite sold on it yet, but I'm curious enough, I guess, because
should
I'm not
Paddington.
sold on it, to be fair.
Paddington goes down well with the group.
Yeah.
Paddington is top tier wholesome film.
Yeah.
Also,
that episode should just be like a Paul King episode.
Yeah.
you could do like that'd be fun.
We could do a
Paul
little
the King.
Commentary.
We could
Yeah.
do it could be the Wonka holiday special featuring Paddington 2 or something.
Oh,
And so we talk about
that's
Wonka
beautiful.
and
Okay, guys.
Paddington 2.
The only Holdovers playing tonight's at 8:15 at the town. It starts now at the Town Center 6. I can make it there by 8:33 from where I'm at on the highway right now.
Okay.
I'm going.
Oh
for it.
man,
All right.
Damn.
yeah.
Well, if
Dude,
you're
that's the
Proud of
best
you.
one because that's like it's an easy entry too. That's a good call.
Yeah, I love it.
if we've only got that much time with you, then you know that it's got to be time. I don't know why
Let's party.
why my thing is doing this, but welcome to Connor's Wicked Game, sponsored by Chris Isaac. Every week I like to play a little game like Jigsaw. This week it's good kill, bad kill. So for context, the two main movies we talked the name of this episode is Killer New Cinema. Talk about Killers of the Flower Moon and The Killer. And so I'm going to read you guys details about a movie, year, genre, people involved, eventually the description. This is all from Wikipedia. The first one to guess the title gets 2 points. All the titles have killer or a synonym of killer or killers in them, as determined by thesaurus.com. I use specifically the ones that it gave me.
Official.
And then after guessing correctly, so only one person gets that point, but everyone has a chance that gets that 2 points, but everyone gets a chance to get 1 point by answering a yes or no question, and everyone will answer, and then I'll reveal on whether the movie was nominated for an Oscar, a Razzie, a Saturn Award, an Independent Spirit Award, or a Stinker's Bad Movie Award. So you're answering yes.
I don't even know what that is.
You're answering yes. It was nominated for one of any of these, or no, it was nominated for none of these. And that's the whole game. So let's.
Do we just shout it out, or do we like? Buzz?
So for the movies, it's whoever I hear first. So you can cut me off once you know. And so once I start, I'll give a good runway and moment for people to be listening. But you just got to shout it out the second you know it. And if two people say it at the same time, I'll split the points. To a reasonable degree. All right, the first one here. A 1989 action thriller directed by John Woo, written by John Woo.
Is it The Killer?
The Killer.
It is The Killer.
Yeah.
I heard Daniel fully say it first. So I'm going to give it to Daniel. Gets those juicy 2 points. And then everyone can answer, was this nominated for any of those awards? An Oscar, a Razzie, a Saturn, Independent Spirit, or a Bad Movie Stinker Award, or whatever the fuck it's called?
I will say no.
Yeah, I'm gonna say no as well.
I think no as well.
I think no.
You guys are all right. It was not nominated for any of those. Let me put y'all's names down on this scoreboard.
Are the Stinker Awards run by you, Connor?
They are. They were.
Okay.
They were.
I didn't have any of them.
I
I was like, man, what a they didn't put much effort in the creative team for that award show.
Yeah. No.
Love it.
Next up, we have a 1955 film noir thriller directed by Charles Laughton, screenplay by James Agee, based on the novel by Davis Grubb, produced by Paul Gregory, starring Robert Mitchum, Shelley Winters, Lillian Gish.
The Night of the Hunter?
Josh got it. That is The Night of the Hunter.
But that's not killing, right? Oh, but Hunter.
The Hunter part, yeah. I was thinking that too.
Hunter is a synonym for killer, according to
That's fair.
that
And now
one.
I know the breath.
Well, I'll say this. I'm not dumb at designing these games. I put some of these early on to introduce the idea that these are words that count as that
I
for
got you.
harder ones
Sure.
later.
Mhm.
And then yes or no from everyone. Was that nominated for any of those awards?
I think yes.
Yeah, I would think yes too. Early enough.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it was not nominated for any of
No
Really?
shit.
Oh my god.
No, it was not.
Damn.
Damn. It's a snub. A snub if I've ever heard of one.
Yeah.
I don't think it was not well received when it came out. It was pretty.
Crazy.
It was pretty.
Imagine if there's 5 better lead male performances that year than Robert Mitchum in that movie.
No way.
There weren't.
All right. Next up, a 2007 action thriller film directed by Xavier Jens, written by Skip Woods, based on the video game franchise by IO Interactive, produced by Daniel Alter.
Is it Hitman?
That is Hitman.
Oh.
And the next question, I have to ask it. Was that nominated for an Oscar, Razzie, Stinker, Independent Spirit Award, or Saturn?
I want to say yes because I want it to be nominated for Stinker.
See,
I'm
like,
gonna say
I kind of forgot that Hitman existed, and maybe
I think yes.
Razzies did too.
I always thought it was Orlando Bloom in that movie, and isn't it just like some other guy that kind of looks like him?
It's fucking Timothy
Timothy
Olyphant.
Olyphant, isn't it?
Yeah,
Is it really?
it is. In the first one.
Yeah.
I've never seen it. If you can't tell.
I'll go with yes.
I'm gonna say no,
Yeah.
just because I don't know anything about it.
And is that no from Brian and yes from everyone else?
Yeah.
Brian gets the point. It was not nominated for anything.
I literally I know nothing about. I can't even picture it.
Yeah. I think that's what it is.
That's
That's
fine.
what I noticed with some of these is that there's a lot of movies that I would have had the initial reaction of like, oh, that has to be one. And then I look at like that year what the Razzies were, and I'm like, oh, these are much more memorable.
There's
Shitty.
much more
These are-
worse, right?
yeah.
Yeah, like even shitty. I don't remember that.
Not even.
Is
Not even.
2007 the year of Norbit?
It might have been, and not even memorable, but more like at the time, at least, like
Right.
notable-
It
Yeah.
stood out. You understood why it was where it was.
more notable flops.
Mhm.
All right, next up, we have a 1978 epic war drama directed by Michael Cimino, screenplay by Derek Washburn.
The Deer Hunter?
I heard you got Josh and Daniel at the same time. Did you say that, Josh, Deer Hunter?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna give you guys both 1 point. I'm gonna split the point between y'all two, because it overlapped, and that is yes, indeed, The Deer Hunter. Now, was that nominated for any of those things?
Yeah.
Now I'm second
yes,
guessing
of
myself,
course.
but I think yes.
I would say yes.
Is that yeses all around?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost like I shouldn't mark the point down.
Well, I need all the points I can get. I think I just have one.
You
There's
got
enough people here where I won't
now.
get a default bronze.
Let's see. Next up, we have a 1994 crime film directed by Oliver Stone.
Natural Born Killers.
Yep.
Yeah.
Brian got it. That is
Nice.
Natural Born Killers. And was that nominated for any of those awards?
I feel like it was because it was such a big, like it was
Yeah.
a really big cultural film because I was young enough for that or old enough, whatever, for that to be a thing.
Yeah, I feel like the actress got a nom. I'm gonna say
I'm gonna
yes.
say, I'm gonna say
sorry,
no.
does it- Can it be anyone, any Oscar now, like a best picture, like
any
like,
nomination
Oscar?
for the movie.
I think
Okay, yeah. I'll say yes.
I think yes,
It
but I'm
was-
second guessing myself.
That was Juliette Lewis, right?
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
Paul, what do you
Julianne
think?
Woody.
I'm gonna say yes.
You guys are right, but not because of that.
It's a Razzie, right?
It's specifically this is the stinker. This is the stinker at the 1994
We got a sticker.
Stinkers Bad Movie Awards.
Stinker Award.
Harrison was nominated for Worst Actor, but lost to Bruce Willis for Color of Night and North.
Wow.
Is also
That's wild.
is also nominated for Worst Picture, but lost to North. So
That's nuts.
Yep. All right. Next up is a 2011 Southern Gothic crime film directed by William Friedkin. Screenplay by Tracy.
Killer Joe.
Yeah, I
Killer
heard
Joe.
Daniel.
Yeah, Killer Joe.
Killer Joe. Did you say it too, Josh, at the same time? Or
No,
okay.
no.
That is Daniel. Daniel, you got those 2 points. That is indeed Killer Joe. The most. I wouldn't treat my fried chicken that way. Come on, guys. And
I would. I do.
Was that nominated for any of those things?
I don't.
Yeah, definitely. It has to be.
I don't think so.
No?
I'm torn. It has like Spirit Award written on it, but I'm not confident.
That's what I mean.
I
Like
forgot,
Independent
I
or
forgot
something,
Spirit
yeah.
Awards. Yeah, I'll say yes.
Is Independent's on there too, right? I think
But I
it
can't.
goes-
I can't tell. Which Friedkin was like not really respected at that point, but McConaughey in a Renaissance.
Wait, what year was
I'm gonna
it?
say
2011.
2011. I'm gonna say no.
I'm gonna say no as well.
I'll say no.
I haven't seen it though.
Brian?
I'm gonna go with the opposite just for points. Try to throw it all in. I'm gonna say yes.
Well, it was a good thing you did because you got the point. It was nominated for Independent Spirit Awards
Okay.
and Saturn Awards.
God damn it!
There we go.
Who got the award in it?
Let me look. It was.
I think it was acting or something. Wasn't it?
It won at the Saturn Awards, Independent Film and Best Actor for McConaughey, and was nominated for
Yeah,
a
I
bunch of
thought
other
so.
stuff. And at the Independent Spirit Awards, it was nominated for Actor for McConaughey.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, that was the reconnaissance. Really, the big
Mhm.
point of it.
And he is great in that movie.
Absolutely.
Next up, we have a 1992 American comedy vampire film directed by Franz Rubel Cousy, written by Joss Whedon, produced.
Buffy the Vampire
Buffy
Slayer.
the Vampire Slayer.
I'm gonna give it to Josh
Mhm.
because I heard it. He had already basically finished it. But
It's like a second after I registers in my head. Like
I
Josh,
forget that he wrote the movie one.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the movie was because it was a script that got turned into the movie kind of away from him, and then I think the TV got greenlit afterwards or something. Like it was connected to
I
it.
think that's right.
It's like an apology.
Yeah. And then it was that one nominated for any of those awards?
No.
I'm gonna stick with that. No.
I said that with confidence. I do not know.
I'm gonna go
That's what I
yes.
felt. That's what I felt. I felt that confidence.
Paul,
I'm gonna.
I feel like it might have.
you're saying no, Paul?
Yeah.
All right, that's points for everyone but Josh. Sorry, Josh.
Yeah, it's okay. I thought it might have had a Saturn Award.
No, it did not get nominated for.
I gotta be honest. I don't know what the Saturn Awards are.
They're like they're a major like science genre and science fiction like.
Oh, that's
award
cool.
ceremony.
I like them.
They're pretty cool. Yeah. All right, we're getting harder. We're in the back half now. This is a 1986 independent psychological horror crime film, directed and co-written by John.
Manhunter.
Nope. Directed and co-written by John McNaughton. I don't know if any of these names would be useful other than it stars Michael Rooker. It is,
Henry Portrait.
Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer.
I'm gonna give it to Paul because he was.
I got
Yeah, Paul,
one.
sorry. Yeah.
That is indeed Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer. This is one of the
Nice.
closest games we've had. This is very competitive. Is a thumbs up, thumbs down? Was this nominated for any of those awards?
I'm gonna say yes.
I'll say yes as well.
I'm gonna say yes.
You're all right. It was nominated for some Independent Spirit Awards. I think specifically Rooker was nominated
Yeah.
for performance. Next up, we've got the 2016 dystopian science fiction action film directed by Justin Kurzel. Screenplay.
Oblivion.
Nope, not quite yet. Screenplay by Michael Leslie, based on the video game franchise by Ubisoft.
Assassin's Creed.
Is Assassin's Creed, starring Michael Fassbender, who we were talking about earlier.
Nice.
And was that nominated for any of those awards? These are the really hard
I'm gonna
ones.
say
no.
no. Yeah,
No.
I feel like it was like not a disaster, but wasn't like well received.
It's one of those movies I imagine people are like, who cares?
Yeah.
It's just there.
So is that nose all around?
Yeah, I'm gonna side with the house.
Yeah.
Yep, that is correct. It was not nominated for any of those, despite a pretty, it's like a 18% on Rotten Tomatoes, which I know Rotten Tomatoes is flawed, but 18% is pretty fucking bad.
I was gonna say it also came out, I'm pretty sure, like around Christmas, so it might have missed the cutoff for the Razzies and shit like that.
Oh yeah, yeah, that
Secret
could be
release.
possible. Next up, we got a 2013 fantasy adventure film directed by Bryan Singer, screenplay by Darren Lemke and Christopher McQuarrie, funnily enough, based on the fairy tales, starring...
Hansel and Gretel.
And that's not it.
No, that's not what
This one
No,
starts...
it's like the Huntsman. Snow White and the Huntsman.
No, that's not it either. This one's got Nicholas Hoult, Eleanor Tomlinson, Stanley Tucci, Ian McShane, Bill Nighy, Ewan McGregor, Eddie Marsan.
Is this the Slayer?
Slayer?
Yeah, Jack the Giant Slayer.
I'm gonna give it to Paul, if that's okay with you, Brian. What?
Whatever. I'll live in my bronze land.
We can split it.
We can split it. I'll give it 1.5 to Paul and.
No, it's fair. No, it's fine. Because I literally couldn't think of it all.
You said Slayer, and then he said the full title.
Yeah, exactly.
And was that nominated for anything?
No.
I'm gonna say no. Yeah.
No.
I don't think so.
I'll say no.
Josh?
No.
It was nominated for several Saturn Awards, actually.
Wow.
Funnily enough.
We really don't know the Saturn Awards, apparently.
I know that's why I guess yes for Buffy, because the Saturn Awards are just weird. Like it's nonsensical.
I think that was back before. I mean, people in the industry knew about Bryan Singer, but I don't think the people in the larger sense knew as much. And so I think people still were like, "Oh, he's like a interesting blockbuster creator," which he kind of was for a minute, and then it turned out he was doing some things he shouldn't have been. So next up, we got a 1993 romantic black comedy film. Directed by Thomas Schlamme, written by Robbie Fox. This one stars Mike Myers.
American Axe Murderer.
Yeah.
I feel like I heard both Brian and Josh say it at the same time.
I'm good.
At the exact same time. Paul, I know, Paul, you started, but I don't think you actually said it.
No, I didn't start it. Yeah.
Yeah, I started, but then I stumbled over it a little bit, so I think me and Brian were.
Theater 6.
Thank you.
Enjoy.
Wow, we got Chris Pine and the worker at Burbank 6.
Yeah.
Start
this has been really a guest spot film now. Yeah.
I love the slam poetry in that movie.
Yeah.
I was thinking of a different one.
Can anybody? What do people think about what that was or wasn't nominated for? Yes or no?
I think it got something. In fact, that probably was one of those. Maybe even the Razzies could have had something on. I feel like.
Yeah, I'm gonna say yes.
I'll say no. I don't think it's Razzie worthy.
I'm just thinking of the time, though. I don't know.
Maybe.
Daniel.
Might be urinating.
Might be in the middle of peeing. I'm gonna say he's not. He's gonna get a second. Well, I have to reveal. I'm gonna give him like 10 more seconds, and then we're just gonna keep going, and he's gonna lose his.
It'd be great if he's listening, and it's just this added pressure, and he's like peeing, and it's just like he's listening to it, but he can't say anything. And it's just like, oh man, finish, buddy.
He logged off.
And,
right,
then click, and then he's like, "That's too much pressure."
That's an official. The show will go on. The show must go on. That was not actually. So Paul, you get the point on that one. It was not nominated for anything. All right, last couple. A 1995 adventure swashbuckler film, directed by Rennie Harlan, screenplay by Robert King and Mac Norman, starring Gina Davis and Matthew Modine. Frank Langella, Maury Chaykin.
Oh, what's it called? It's the pirate movie.
Cutthroat Island.
Yes.
It's Brian.
I didn't.
Yeah, it is indeed.
What's it called?
Cutthroat Island.
Cutthroat Island.
Oh.
Let's see. Oh, Daniel. He said, I forgot it's a black hole down here. I'm so sorry.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah, that's
He says Nicole is on. I accept defeat. So we'll just see. I'll just say this: he has enough points that he might not come in last. So we'll see.
So this is now a game of beat Daniel on.
Yeah.
Yeah, beat Daniel, who's not even playing anymore, who's watching a movie. That's great.
Okay, so
No pressure.
was Cutthroat Island is like a pretty notorious flop, I think.
That's why
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking, that it was.
Yeah.
Or
Everyone,
Stinker, whatever.
everyone's
whatever
saying yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That was, I think, nominated for. I think that was specifically nominated for Razzies, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, because that was the green light everything era, so there was definitely some of those bonkers. Just how are we making a movies?
Yeah, Harlan was nominated for a Raspberry for Worst Director, but lost to Paul Verhoeven for Showgirls.
Oh hell yeah!
I was guessing Razzie just because of Rennie Harlan.
Yeah.
When did the Razzies start? Out of curiosity, what was the first year?
I will ask me that again after this is over. Just in case.
I'm just curious, just because of again the era of what caused that to even become a thing. Like obviously, it would make sense to me that an era like the.
I
feel like the
What
80s.
did I say?
Oh wait, no, because
it was 80s. It was
I remember.
1980.
Okay, yeah, okay, that makes sense because I remember The Shining was they didn't like The Shining.
Yep.
And it was like a.
Oh.
Yeah.
Like, well, that was 80s, so.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Next up, 2006 period psychological thriller film directed by Tom Tykwer, based on the novel by Patrick Suskind, starring Ben Whishaw, Alan Rickman, Dustin Hoffman, narrated by John Hurt. Are any of these other things relevant? No. I'll even start reading some of the description. Go ahead.
How do you spell the director's last name?
Tom
or just like part of it?
Tykwer, Tykwer. He's the guy who co-directed
The
Cloud Atlas.
Cloud Atlas,
with the Wachowskis, yeah. The film begins with the sentencing of John Baptiste Grenouille, a notorious murderer. The story of his life is told in flashback, beginning with his abandonment at birth in a French fish market. Any guesses on the title of this movie?
No.
Jack the Ripper?
Nope. All right, it says Perfume, the story of a murderer. These.
I don't think I've never heard of that movie.
I don't know what that is.
These like I said, well, we're in the last like 3, so these are the hard ones. Was yes or no? Was that nominated or not?
No.
I'll say yes for poofs and giggles.
Let's look at that. That'd be some recognizable radar if it was.
You are right, Paul. It was nominated, I believe, for a Saturn Award. Specifically, let me look. Yep, and won some European stuff too. Supposed to be good. It's been on my radar actually. Next up, last 2, we got a 2010 action romantic comedy, directed by Andy Tennant. Starring Jennifer Aniston and Gerard Butler.
Oh,
fuck.
It's the something, I think.
Oh, damn. Can you say any other cast members?
Jason Sudeikis, Jeff Garlin. It's like a romantic comedy. Let's see. It was. Here, I'll just start reading again. Shout out the name. I feel like it's on the tip of y'all's tongues, and y'all will get it once I start reading the description.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm gonna leave out the title when I get to it. Milo Boyd, a former New York Police Department detective, is now a blank. His ex-wife, Nicole Hurley, is an investigative reporter who was recently arrested for assaulting a police officer. She receives her tip on a
Bounty hunter.
That's it. It
Is
is The Bounty Hunter.
Nice. Good pull.
And was that nominated for any of those awards?
No idea. I'll say no. Or maybe I think Gerard Butler had a lot of hate for that movie. I think people hated him. So it might be like a Razzie or something.
So,
but I'm just going to go with no.
Brian?
I have no idea. Go no, I guess.
Unfortunately, it was nominated for a Razzie. And so, sorry, Paul.
That's all right.
And last one, I will be really surprised if anyone can get this. This is a
Daniel bailed at the right time. He felt the vibe of this game.
I don't think he would have been. I think maybe this is kind of a hint, and you'll probably be able to tell by the vibe. But I think Edwin would be the one who could be able to get this. It is a 1980 vigilante action film written and directed by James Glickenhaus, starring Robert Ginty. During a firefight in Vietnam, yada yada yada. It's Death Wish. That's what it says. That's what it says on Wikipedia. It says during a fighter fight in Vietnam, yada yada yada. It's Death Wish. And any thoughts on this film?
Is it Death Wish? No, I'm just kidding.
Brian?
I'm thinking of something that sounds familiar, but I just can't place it fully.
The Deer Hunter 2?
Close.
No idea.
And it's the killer theme. The only thing I can think of is there's this one, Exterminator.
2 points for Brian.
Oh shit! I was like thinking it's the first thing I thought of, but then I was like, I don't think it's that one because I was trying to think of the overall. Like, I literally saw it like once, early, a million years ago. That's crazy. And then, but I was thinking of the Edwin vibe. Is what how you sold me, and I was thinking of everything that era.
Good job.
Oh yeah,
100% the Exterminator. And the last question I have to ask anyone: was that nominated for any of those awards?
I'll say no.
I'll say yes.
I'm gonna say yes too.
Okay. Points go to Paul. It was not nominated for any of those, and so because of the way I do the scores, I think I have to double check. Daniel still won a bronze. Josh, you get a silver, and Brian and Paul are tied for gold. You guys both got a gold.
Hey, that's the first time. That's the first time I've gotten close to that. So it makes me. So I'm the average. I'm more in like a silver territory.
You've gotten one gold before. Paul specifically has been on twice and hasn't gotten a medal either time. So this is.
I'm pretty bad at this.
This is a big improvement.
I came up with the Bounty Hunter,
and
I did it with Alex last time though. That's a guy who's a tough one because Alex thinks of things that I'm. You know how you said that your brain the next second. That's the way it is, but like times 10 with Alex. He's just like boom.
Oh, I mean overall, Daniel. I mean, this is a pretty big hit for Daniel. This is his first bronze. So he's been here 5 times. He's gotten 3 golds and 2 silvers. Him, Scott, and Alex have the best overall records for people who have been on more than once, because there's a couple people who've been on like once and got a gold, and
It's fun. I was really excited about the game.
Yeah, it's my favorite part too. I like thinking her up and figuring it out. Let me switch to my normal background. I don't know why my Zoom is doing this whenever I it's not doing it now. That's weird. And before we go to our very last segment, we got one little short segment. Frasier time. I watched the 2 most recent new episodes of Frasier last night. I'd fallen behind the previous week. And they're solid episodes. The most recent is the more notable one for sure because it features the return of Lilith. And there's a lot of great,
that's cool.
a lot of great back and forth. Frasier's first line to her is, "Oh, who said your name into a mirror 3 times?" And which is a great
That's
little
pretty good.
line. Yeah. And I posted this clip. That episode is about his son, the now adult main character who's a firefighter and kind of taking after his grandfather more so. Temperament-wise, he has his birthday party at a bowling alley, and when they introduce that set, it's just like this panning shot of the bowling alley, and then a close-up as Kelsey Grammer walks into the room with disgust and goes, "Bowling," and just really great, really fun stuff. Continue to expand the characters. I'm trying to remember what the other episode last night was about. Oh, that was The Date. That one was good too. It was basically Freddie's friend decides to set up both Frasier and Freddie, that's Frasier's son, on blind dates, and this woman shows up at the apartment they're sharing, and they both think that she is there for them. And because the other one is running late and they don't know who and they can't get a hold of them. And it just kind of in classic Frasier fashion, it's just snowballs from there. So another good Frasier episodes. I guess next week I might not have one because of the way those come out and stuff, and the holidays and stuff. But yeah, anything else? Anything else anyone else wants to talk about, shout out or whatever? I don't have really anything other than can we get a motherfucking ceasefire up in this bitch? Raise the roof. Let's fucking get a ceasefire up in here, motherfuckers. Anything else anyone else got?
What kind of stuff? Just anything? Anything Frasier related?
It doesn't have to be fair. This is post Frasier segment. This is just
like we. That'd be great because the ceasefire with Frasier.
Yeah, we talked about like the Chucky series for 10 minutes the other week, for instance.
Nice.
But if no one has anything they want to shout out, then we can move on to wrapping up the show.
Good to have some theaters back. Egyptian's back. Vista's back. Gonna see Thanksgiving on 35 this weekend.
Yep, I think all 4 of us are going. I think it's gonna be the 4 of us.
Yeah, 4 of us are going.
Scott
cool.
And Ian.
Scott, I think, and Aunt Scott as well. Yeah. So yeah, you can get tickets on Fandango. The Vista's open. Look at all that good stuff. There's a bunch of screenings a day.
Yep.
I'm excited to see what comes of it.
Same for sure. I'm getting word here. This is harrowing news, people, that next week is unfortunately the long-awaited Haunted Mansion special. All your favorite boys and ghouls will be there. Owen Wilson, Danny DeVito. Hold on, I'm getting a second thing in the right ear. It's actually next week is going to be the Eli Roth Apologist Hour, so it's just going to be me. And we're talking about Thanksgiving and Eli Roth. We're going to figure out a time for that because of the actual holiday. And I want to say thank you.
Brother's in Haunted Mansion too.
Yep, your brother is in Haunted Mansion. That is correct.
He's an extra.
Thank you to Brian for composing our outro. And please subscribe, smash that like button, share with your neighbors. And I don't think I've said neighbors yet. Every week I try to think of a different new person you could share it with. And so share it with your neighbors. I don't think I've said that yet. Go to your neighbors, break into your neighbor's home, and subscribe on all their YouTube accounts and put it. You can just paste. You just write Cinema Curse on the walls. It'd be great. Some real grassroots marketing for us. And follow us at Cinema Curse 666 on Instagram and TikTok. And yeah, thanks everyone for joining. Thanks everyone for watching. And God bless. Have a good week.
God bless.
Bye-bye. Goodbye, citizens.
Bye. Thank you.